But Endgame is Chaol, right?
Yeah.
But Endgame is Chaol, right? Don't follow it for me, because it is not. I will stop reading this series. I only read the first book. Why are you laughing?
I'm just trying to breathe here.
I see your face.
Oh my, okay.
You know something.
Can we move along? Hey guys, Nina here and welcome to More Than Fiction. Today, Eva is joining me again. She has already been my guest once when we discussed the Umbrella Academy, and now she's my guest again because this is her first time reading the Throne of Glass series, right?
Yay!
Yay! Yes.
Just recently.
She basically finished it yesterday, right?
Yes, let's go with that. That was today morning, but it's okay.
This morning. And I have already read this series 2 times. My first time was in high school when I was like 16 years old. I'm 26 now. And I finished it like last summer again. And I was just hooked. And I literally just forgot how invested I was in this series. And it's definitely one of my favorites, I think. Even though the first 2 books for me aren't that good. For me, it really gets good after the 3rd book. But what about you, Eva? What are your like general thoughts about this first book that you've read now? And also, just before we get into it, this is a spoiler-free episode for the entire Throne of Glass series, but there will be spoilers for the first book. So it's a deep dive for this one. If you haven't read it, what are you doing here? However, at the beginning, we will start with a general opinion and a general summary without spoilers. Then we'll dive into spoilers, just so you know. Okay, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Nina. Yeah, great to be here again.
Yeah.
This is a series of books that you convinced me to read again. But it's actually good. It started really slow. I wasn't really into it because the starting point, the one where she was in the salt mines of Endoir, and I apologize for the pronunciation if it's bad anywhere.
It's gonna be we're probably gonna make lots of mistakes, okay? But it's fine.
It's a process.
Yeah, we're still learning.
Yeah, so I found her a bit too cocky. And I thought it was dragging on. It was a good way to introduce you to the world building, to where she started, a gritty way as well. And as I understood, the author of this book was pretty young when she wrote it.
Yeah, I think Sarah J. Maas was 16.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That young?
Yep.
What was I doing at 16? Definitely not writing books. What were you doing at 16?
Actually, I started writing a book.
Really?
Yeah, but I never finished it. And also, my main character at the time was also very cocky. And I think that's just a thing. If you're a teenager and you write a book, I think you put yourself in. I'm not saying I'm a cocky person, but I wanted to see myself as this big hero, super brave, I know everything. And I feel like Sarah J. Maas was doing basically the same thing with Celaena. She was kind of putting herself into Celaena. But we'll get more character growth from Celaena and she'll learn along the way. But that's how I felt when I read it too. The first time around when I was 16 and I read it, it didn't affect me as much. I didn't realize that she was that arrogant as much. To me, she was like super badass, amazing. I want to be her. But the second time around, when I read it last year, I was like, yeah, this girl is definitely full of herself. And I wasn't really into that, but as the story goes along, it gets better for sure. And also another thing, if you've read the prequel, it's Celaena.
Don't spoil it for me.
Yes, she hasn't read the prequel.
This is the only book I've read from the series.
Yes.
So it's as far we go.
Yes, I am not spoiling the prequel, but you have it actually on my channel because I've discussed it with my previous co-host. And well, in the prequel, she's a lot more relatable, I think. She understands a lot of things. She learns a lot of things. And I feel like if you want to like her more, you should start with that book. However, I actually read this book just this year, meaning the prequel. I've never read it before because you obviously know that Sam died. That's something, if you read this book, this is something you know, right?
Sam died?
Bitch, don't scare me. Jesus, why did I invite you? Can someone remind me again what she's doing here?
I make for a good conversationalist.
Yeah, you sure do.
And I frustrate you because my opinion usually differs, but you always think it's gonna be the same. But when I take time to go through it, it's a bit different.
That's true. So
just a little bit.
it's always interesting to listen to us discuss things, so stay tuned. But yeah, well, as we know from this book, Sam died, but in the prequel we kind of learn more about that whole situation, and I just knew that that's what the prequel was gonna show us, and I didn't want to...
Wait. Does that mean that the prequel tells you how she got captured and ended in...
It's a prequel, yeah. I mean...
Oh, so basically it's her life before this book.
Yeah.
So how she became the assassin, and then how she ended up in the salt mines of Endovir.
Endovir, yes. Basically. And you also get to know Sam, So knowing all of that, I didn't want to read it because I was like, why do I want to put myself through that? Because from this book, it kind of sounded that Sam was a really kind, and cute guy. And I didn't want to see him die. I didn't want to experience that. Yeah, I'm getting deep and emotional here, and she's making fun of me. She's already getting on my nerves, just so you know.
The beauty of existing. Anyway, as a start, once you go into it and you go through the introduction of the characters, so that means the prince Dorian, and then as well as the captain of the guard, Chaol.
His name is awful. Let's say Chaol.
Pronunciation of that name. I call him Chaol in my name, in my
Chaol.
head. Chaol. And then I was like, wait, kale? Like the kale, like the vegetable? But no, it's Chaol. It's O.
It's
like,
so weird.
What the fuck?
Chow sounds like a type of chihuahua or something. I don't know.
I thought with C and an H was a ch.
I know. I get it. Yeah, I think when I was reading it the first time, for me it was Chaol.
Kaul.
Where
did the ul come from?
I don't know. Awful. Oh
no, so sorry. When you're not a native speaker,
even native speakers have issues.
They fuck it up. So it's not us.
Yeah, it's not us. It's Sarah. Thank God I have my whiskey here. By the way, this is whiskey cola. Like I need this for this episode. I think.
And I'm just on my orange juice.
Yeah, because she's driving later on. We're on vacation, by the way, guys. We're in Croatia actually, and she's driving us home. So
Yay! Designated driver. How fun.
So fun. And thank God I'm not, so yeah. Okay, now let's get back to the point. Jesus.
So yeah, the introduction to the characters was great, especially to the first three, but you needed to get really into it, because when you started reading it, and if you're reading it a bit older, so I'm 27, not 18 as the character inside the... No, 17, she's actually 17. Inside the book, so it's not that relatable to me in a way. It was cocky. It was so fucking cocky. Like, I'm the best. I know what they were doing. I know what they were thinking. That was a big turn up, but once you get into it, the introduction to the world, the Rift Hold, right, where they go to.
Yeah, that's the main city.
The main city, yeah. And Castle Made of Glass, where I assume the name of the book Throne of Glass comes from.
Yep.
Was actually pretty good as well with the other character and the plot. And considering the author wrote this when she was young, props. It's very well written for her age. And even so, it's not that badly written as I thought. All of you were telling me how it's not that good because it's the first book and the second, but it was actually not that bad.
Yeah, I know. It's not that bad, but it's very superficial. You don't get to know a lot of the world. We're basically stuck in Rifthold all the time. There's not that much character depth when it comes to the other characters. We're not inside their heads. So in that kind of a way, it's very surface level.
Yeah, because I think the POV was just from either her, Dorian, or Chaol.
So wait, in this book we have also Dorian's and Chaol's points of views. Oh, I forgot that actually.
Yeah, but they don't have it a lot, but they are there in between to see how they see her, how they think through. Yeah, so
I forgot that. Okay.
Yeah, so it's not just her point of view.
Okay, but we'll get even more of that in later books, so it's gonna be even more.
Spoilers.
That's not really a spoiler. I mean, it's obviously a multiple point of view.
You can expect that,
Yeah. Okay, so I guess that's kind of a general opinion, we could say. Now, let's just explain to our audience what this book is actually about. So we basically follow Celaena Sardothien. She is an assassin, one of the, well, actually the best assassin in the land. She is now in prison in the salt mines of Endovir. Yeah. And now the king is organizing a championship to get his own champion who will basically assassinate people for him, you know, his enemies or whatever. And Dorian, as the little rebel he is, he finds her and he takes her to be his champion. But the thing is that the king doesn't want anyone to know that she's Celaena Sardothien because she's so young, and he's kind of embarrassed by the fact that this is Adarlan's famous assassin, that she's the one who's been causing him so much trouble since she's so young, you know, that's kind of embarrassing for him. So that's why she actually goes by as Lady Lillian, as a jewel thief, right?
Yes, it was a jewel thief from Bethlehem or something like that.
Yeah, another weird name. And that kind of causes that no one is really intimidated by her, everyone underestimates her. And here again, I feel like her cockiness is even more obvious because she's just so annoyed by that, by the fact that she can't really show the world how badass and how amazing she is. She just can't, her ego can't handle that. So I guess that's kind of the premise of the book, and now she has to fight in this championship, and if she wins, competition, yeah.
I think it was 34 at the start of the
like a lot of them.
Yeah, and it came, and there were a lot of challenges in between, and then it came to 4, which were then duels.
Yeah. And basically, if you survive, if you win, you become the champion, and you have like a really good salary, you live in the castle, and you murder people for the king. You know, no biggie.
You're basically his bitch.
Basically. And this is a really big deal for Celaena because she hates the king. He put her in Endovir and he's imprisoned so many innocent people. There are children in these mines, elderly people. He's just a monster, essentially, as we get to know throughout this book more and more. And of course, the idea of her working for him is just awful, but she wants her freedom. She's been for a year?
Yeah, she spent a year in the prison, but most people last a month.
Exactly,
in the salt mines.
Yeah.
And she got really close to the wall of the salt mines.
Yeah.
Because most people get like 3 feet before they're shot down, and she got, was it 360 feet or something like that? It was a lot. It was considered as an accomplishment that she made it, and as well as the fact that lots of people get, especially women in the salt mines, get raped. She never got raped because she went on a killing spree.
Yeah.
With a pickaxe.
Yeah. And she actually, I mean, this was a really sad story for me when she explained to Chaol, I think, that this woman kind of healed her or helped her out. And then after someone, like a guard, discovered that, he basically raped her and murdered her.
No, it was a multiple rape.
Well,
yeah, they beat her and then they raped her.
Gang raped her.
And she died.
I
was like, what?
And that was so sad to me. She kind of put herself out there to help this young girl, and she ended up dying for that. I mean, poor Celaena. I can only imagine that she feels kind of guilty for that, even though it's not her fault. But yeah. I know I would, I would feel like that.
So she spent the time there with a lot of slaves from, I need to look that from the book. It's...
I will.
Oh my God. From I will. So she feels companionship to those people, and as well it's good to mention that from hometown she was before she became an assassin, and before Robin took her into
before Robin,
Guild.
She was from Terracin. From Terracin, yeah. That's where she's originally from.
But the king started his conquest, I think it was in her land, and her kingdom was the first to fall.
Oh, it was.
And then it was just a continuation because the king of Adarlan wanted to conquer most of the kingdoms next to him, and he as well wanted to prohibit magic. So he drew magic away from those kingdoms that he conquered and from his own kingdom. So the books on magic, the knowledge on magic became scarce, and magic basically died out in that decade. It's like it knew what it was coming. At least that's how it's described in the book, and I'm only on the first book, so I don't know anything else. But that was basically his mission.
Yeah. I mean, awful. Awful bad king.
And he's still expanding his empire, and now they're in conflict when Iwal, and when she comes to do the competition, she's also introduced to the princess Nehemia.
Nehemia, yes.
Nehemia, that is the princess of Iwal, right?
Yes.
Yes.
She's basically in Adderland now, in Rifthold, in the king's palace for diplomatic reasons.
So she says.
So she says, yes. What do you think about that, by the way? What do you think about, I mean, we're just skipping ahead, but what do you think about Nehemia and their friendship, all of that relationship?
But really, are we skipping ahead? Because once she gets introduced to the competition and to her place in the castle, and the fact that she gets to see the castle and she finds an escape route from her room, and that's basically it. And then later on, she's already introduced to the princess Nehemia because she learned how to speak
A Wallish?
a Wallish.
I have no idea. Their language?
Yes, their language from the slaves in the salt mines.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, I found that she doesn't make friends with girls
Easily.
really well. Yeah, easily. Because she had problems in the past of backstabbing, or so I understood between the lines. So I found their friendship really endearing, especially when she was helping her learn the language. Spoiler alert, she didn't need to learn the language because she already spoke the language, but a great way to infiltrate the kingdom. I'm surprised that the king let her keep her title, actually.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a whole weird situation. I don't know what his
There
thought
was
process was here.
There was some reason given in the book.
Oh, it was.
In between the lines.
Probably to just keep her like in check, you know, to give her like a feeling of that maybe she still has some kind of power, kind of level of power, but she really doesn't. You know?
Yeah.
It's like a psychological manipulation.
So then the whole plot goes basically, it's happening in the castle about a competition, and then as well as the discovery of the magic and the first queen and king of
Adderland?
Adderland, yeah, which was Celaena, and I forgot the guy's name.
Yeah, me too. The first king and queen of Adderland, yeah. And
but Celaena was more important because she was a descendant from the Fae.
Yep, she was.
With pointed ears and everything, and magic and so on. And lots of history books describe her as a damsel in distress, but she was actually a very good warrior.
And she's the one who told this to Celaena, right? In her
Yes,
dream, right? Was it in her dream?
It's dream. She discovered her tomb.
Yeah, right.
She discovered the tomb,
passage.
yeah, in that passageway that led from her room, and then somehow it was also connected to the dream. I think it was some kind of a magical seance or something. The book doesn't explain magic that well. I think it just starts a slow introduction into it, and I'm thinking that we're gonna get more in the second book. You would know.
Yeah. That's what I missed in the first book. You know, for me, like, I understand that this is a long book series, and I always know that with long book series is obviously we're gonna get more explanations throughout the book series.
And more world building as well.
Yes, but when it comes to the first book, I always feel like the first book should give us that initial really good first impression for us to keep sticking with it, right? And in the first book, I think that the world building and the magical systems should be explained a lot better, and here it wasn't. So the first time, I mean, not the first time, the second time around when I read it last year, I was kind of bored by it, essentially, because I wanted to know more. I wanted to understand what all of this means, how it works, and we didn't get that. So that's like, I feel like the minus of this book and of this book series.
You're gonna hate me again.
Why? I'm already tired.
No, but as a first reader with only this book as a reference, I think it was good. I think it was a good way. Yeah, because it keeps me guessing. Because I first thought there was no magic. That magic died out. There was nothing. And then came the
word marks.
Word marks.
But what do you mean they came? They're old. Word marks are very old.
Yeah, they're very old, but then they were mentioned firstly in the book. And I was like, what the fuck is that? And it starts with the death of the champions that were mauled and eaten, their brains and everything. They were shredded to ribbons, and you're like, no human could have done that. I mean, of course, there are some sick people in the book, like with the champions, you had murderers, thieves, assassins. Some assassins were like shit assassins. To her, they were all shit assassins, even though later on she saw like, oh, maybe I am not that great.
Yeah.
Oh, the confidence of a teenage girl. Anyway, there were two killers. One was Ned. I think he was the eye eater. Yeah, Ned the Eye Eater, because
Okay.
I remembering him from like Eddard Stark from Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
I
okay.
was like, Ned is usually a noble character.
Yeah,
obviously.
but not in this
book.
case. Yeah.
Not in this book. Comparing fandoms when you read too much fiction.
Yep.
Anyway, and then there was another guy who they call him Psych because he used the Psych to kill his victims. He had a name that I forgot.
And it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, yeah, but it was
It's
I think
irrelevant.
they were the only two killers. But I think Ned the Eye Eater is the first to go.
What about Cain? Wasn't he like a killer too?
Oh no, Cain actually was a war general in his army.
Oh.
Yeah, so he was not a killer. He
I
was
forgot
a
all
war
of
general
that.
in the army, and he was introduced. Oh, so here's another character, Duke.
Parrington.
Thank you. And his soon-to-be or seems soon-to-be wife,
Caltaine.
Celaena. What the fuck is with this name? Celaena, yes. So as a lady of the court, and then the Duke we got to know him actually right at the start. He was the one who pushed Celaena to her knees.
Yeah.
I think he's described with ginger mustache and balding hair.
Ugly as fuck and annoying as fuck and evil as fuck. That's his description.
But is he? I mean,
basically, he manipulated
ugly-
Caltaine into poisoning.
an ugly personality, and we learn later on that he's a magic user in a way, right? He used some kind of a compulsion towards Caltaine, and as well as with somebody else as well. I don't know what it was, but I know it was on some. There were two people he used it on, but the compulsion was seen, and then he used it on the behalf of the king. Actually, what do you like about them apples? A king that hates magic but loves using it for his own purpose.
Yep. Yeah. That's such a hypocrite. I hate that. I hate those kinds of characters. But of course.
But I feel like it always happens.
It always happens. It always happens. Like, it's kind of predictable if you think about it. But yeah, I'm actually really thankful that Eva, you just read this book because, I kind of don't remember that much from the first one. So all of these details about, Ned, the Eye Eater, whatever, and all of these murderers, I kind of forgot. So thank you for that.
Yeah, she made a friend amongst the killers. So one of the shifty ones.
Nox.
Yes.
Nox. He wasn't a killer though. He was just like
a
thief.
He was a thief. Sorry,
he was a thief.
Yeah,
and he's actually from Terrasen, from her homeland.
Yeah.
So that's why they connected so fast.
And he was not gonna be killed if he disappeared from the competition.
Yeah, she told him that. So she basically saved his life, and he ran and he escaped. Thank God. And we'll probably see more of him. I think, hopefully.
So she goes through those challenges, and in the end, she's crowned as the champion. Big surprise. Even though it didn't look like it. I mean, there were doubts in a way, but you kind of knew she was going to be it because it's a series and she's the main character. But still, I think for how young the author was, she did a good job of doing that.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I did kind of miss in that battle sequence a bit more of her like showing her skills, because there was a lot of talk from her point of view, how amazing she is. But when it came down to actually fighting these people, she wasn't that good. And it wasn't her fault because she was essentially poisoned. But yeah, I wish that kind of final battle was a bit more, even more like intense from her side of her using those skills. Like maybe before the poison started working on her, she could have given him some really good blows or something, but no, the poison got to work really fast.
Only with Cain?
Yeah.
Because the guy she fought beforehand.
Yeah, but that guy was like, we didn't expect much from him either way.
He was still top 4, and he took like the second position out of 4 of them.
Yeah, that's true.
His name was something on V. Forgettable. I just remember he's
Doesn't matter.
described as having very gross hygiene about his teeth.
Yeah, that's all I remember too, actually. The only thing.
Varun? No.
Something weird. Anyways, she was kind of badass, but okay, we've already skipped to the end.
Yes, because I want to go to characters.
Okay, yeah.
So, what did you think about the characters, Nina? You read the books so many times, and you have a better perception than I do, so you know more. Please don't spoil. Like I used to.
No.
So, who was your favorite, or how would you rate them again? I mean, protagonists and antagonists.
I mean, look, so I'm just gonna explain it from the point of view of myself reading this book just this book, okay? I'm not gonna like discuss the entirety of the characters.
No, but just
from this
yeah,
book, yeah, how I felt about
course.
them in here. So I was intrigued by Nehemia, but I always had like a really bad feeling about her. I just really thought that she was gonna somehow betray Celaena. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that, like I'm saying, this is just from when I read this first book, okay? That's how I felt when I first got introduced to her. I don't know. I kind of was into her working with Celaena and Celaena teaching her and everything. But then we found out about her already knowing the language. And of course, that kind of made sense, you know, that she was basically spying on the king somehow in that kind of a way. I mean, that's what I thought when I read that. But yeah, I don't know. Then Celaena, she kind of commented something along the lines of now that she's going to have to keep an eye on Nehemia. And I was like, yeah, you will. Yeah, I don't know. I have a bad feeling. And I really hope that doesn't happen. I hope that Nehemia doesn't betray Celaena. She doesn't deserve that. I feel like she said, she's had bad luck with friends that are girls specifically. And it would be really good that their friendship blossoms into something really nice. And, you know, they defeat the king together or something. But that was my initial impression of Nehemia.
Really? Because when I read that she was suspecting Nehemia, I was like, girl, I don't think that's it. It didn't make sense. It didn't make sense from the good. Why her? Because she was helping her. They were friends. They were spending time, and they were spending time together because Nehemia wanted it. So she didn't have to do that. And I thought it didn't tie into the plot because if Nehemia wanted somebody dead, it would be the royal family, right? Or maybe the guards or some of the more prominent nobles, right? So I found that really. When she suspected her, I was like, I don't think that's it.
Yeah, I just, like, maybe I didn't explain myself that well. I'm not saying that I thought Nehemia would betray her in the sense of like hurting her or anything like that. I just thought that her secrets might affect Celaena a lot more than she thinks, you know?
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Like in a bad way too. Not necessarily that she'd hurt her intentionally and be like, yeah, I hate you, I'm gonna hurt you, I've always planned to do this. But more like her secrets are just so big that they might actually really backfire on Celaena. And that's why I wouldn't trust Nehemia and I wouldn't get close to her if I was Celaena.
Yeah.
I'd stay away from her.
I understand you. But she was, in a way, she could have been happy that she did stay next to her because Nehemia protected her. She drew that...
Word marks.
Yeah.
I'm
so sorry. Under her bed.
Yeah.
To protect her, even though she was paranoid that something was targeting her. And it was a creature called... Ridback? Have that creature summoned from the other world that then feasted upon the flesh of humans. We find out then Cain was actually the one summoning them. Cain was making word marks.
Yeah.
And he was smiling about it. And you're like, oh, that's shifty behavior. Already from a guy that's already shifty, from a guy that's sponsored by Duke
Parrington. Yeah.
Who's already a great asshole.
Yeah. I really like the whole word mark thing because I thought it was really well, we got good Easter eggs about it. Like, I think the first time Celaena came to the castle, she noticed the word marks somewhere on the floor or something, and she didn't know exactly what they were, and she was just thinking to herself, what are these weird symbols? And you know, you already know that this is gonna lead somewhere, and you're just like curious where it's gonna go, and I thought that was really interesting. The whole word mark thing was interesting. So in that way, yeah, the lack of explanation of how magic used to work and stuff is maybe then explainable because you're like, well, we have word marks, which are actually in this moment more relevant because magic is either way like prohibited right now. It doesn't work, so who cares?
And I love that she had access to the library and then she was trying to educate herself.
That was so cute. I mean, now that you mentioned the library, let's skip to Dorian Villiard. My favorite, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? That's your favorite character?
She's my baby. The first time, let me just explain. The first time I read the books, meaning when I was in high school, when I was 16, Chaol was my favorite. And then now that I read Dorian, he's such an innocent, good person. Like, he has such a good heart. You know, he might live this kind of privileged life. It's obvious that he's not really aware of how awful and ugly the world is, but he's just so kind. He's just so good. You can see that he would do anything for the people he loves. And I appreciate those kinds of people. And that's why he's my favorite. And also, I really like the fact that he knows how to banter really well. You know, he has a good sense of humor. He just knows how to respond with those quick, fast, funny remarks, you know, that him and Celaena have. I feel like really good banter. And of course, you know, the black hair and the blue eyes do it for me.
I wanted to mention that. I was like, oh, and the black hair and the blue eyes had nothing to do with the top.
I mean, that's just a no. But it's not the main thing. It's literally the detail. All of the other things I mentioned are very
big plus, though, right?
It's a plus, but the more important parts are the ones I just mentioned. So don't spin it, okay? So yeah, what about you? What did you think about Dorian?
First, when he was introduced, I thought, oh, this is gonna be the sort of laid-back, chill, but distant type of character, but very intelligent and smart. And you're just gonna see him overviewing stuff and not saying much, not having much dialogue, just looking and smirking. I thought that was gonna be it. At least from the start, from the Salt Mines of Enderweir. And then he came off as kind of relatable, happy, like a puppy.
Yeah, golden retriever.
Like a golden retriever. And I was like, where did that come from?
Yeah.
This is not how we started. I was lied to, man. What the fuck?
But he did kind of immediately, even in the mines, he kind of did banter with Celaena. And he kind of teased her immediately.
A bit, but it was like a sort of... I could have understood that as a teasing from somebody from a higher position to somebody from a lower position. Not as something that is his whole personality type, but like a sarcastic kind of way. But then it was actually revealed that he was much more kinder, sweeter in a way.
He's sweet.
Much more... Well, he was a womanizer in a way, but as well as an idiot in love in a way.
I mean, it's so funny because I think the author really wanted to present Dorian as this womanizer, essentially. Yeah, like he has a lot of girlfriends, he has a lot of fans, whatever. He, you know, sleeps around with women. But I think that he just flirts a lot. He definitely flirts and he definitely likes the attention, but he's essentially a romantic. And that kind of reminds me of me, actually.
But he also slept a lot.
I don't think we've never seen that. He kissed a lot of girls, but kissing isn't the same as sleeping with people. It says
tasted.
Who says tasted?
The book says tasted.
But that's the author saying tasted. We don't really know what's in his head.
Okay. True.
You know what I mean? Like that's the thing with books. I feel like if you're not inside the character's mind, you don't really know what they're actually like. This is basically just someone else describing how they see them. Essentially, we were usually in Celaena's head, so we were used to her describing Dorian and the way she sees him. But we don't really know if that's who he is.
Yeah, and there is a mention of his ex.
Yeah, a girl that really hurt him or something, broke his heart.
Yeah, left him from some plain man.
Yeah, so that also tells you something, you know? Because when your heart is broken, of course you want to, I don't know, flirt around and kiss some ladies and stuff, but
it all bored him, essentially. And that was also, I think, the reason why he chose Celaena
because she's
his
different.
Champion.
Yeah, more interesting.
She was adventurous.
Exactly.
In a way. But I think as I understood from the first chapter, it was like the king chose her. But it's not actually the king that chose her. It was the prince.
Yeah. Of course, if it were the king, he would never picked her. Dorian basically did it to annoy the king because he knows how much the king despises Adarlan's assassin. Yeah. So anyway, that's why I was really intrigued by Dorian, because I thought there was like so much more to him. Even, you know, when we realized that, he is actually this sweet, kind guy, I knew that there's like even more to him, and I still think that, and, you know, hopefully we'll get that.
Don't spoil it for me.
Nope.
No, but I like him and I like Chaol.
So Chaol's your favorite?
Fucking name. Actually, my favorite didn't get much dialogue.
Which one?
Can you guess? It's a guy.
It's a guy?
It's a guy. And he survives, he's not dead.
Oh, Nox.
Yes.
Oh, Nox. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, I found him smart and not like... I really... So my second favorite, if not on the fence with him, would be probably Chaol as well, because I like his perspective, like his way of thinking, like maybe a bit too honor bound for me.
Oh my gosh, he's too honor bound for me.
But it was in a way he was conflicted within himself. But I think I related to Nox best. Because he was not top of the pack, he was not the main character, he was a bit on the background, and he was smart enough to move away from it, and he was kind to Celaena, so he saw the potential first on, and he was not an asshole. As well, he was not described as grotesque.
That's true.
Because most of them were described as ugly fucking looking bitches.
Yeah, he was the only kind of normal besides Celaena among that bunch. That's true. Okay, I can see that. But yeah, when you mentioned Chaol, I just want to say that I really didn't like how Chaol sees the world, you know, like really black and white. I hate those kinds of people. I don't like his perspective in that way, but it was interesting to read how he battles like that.
But
you know?
he was the character growth, I think his was the best.
Yeah.
And at the start when I saw the banter between him and Celaena, I thought they were gonna end up having something. Not her and Dorian. I was like, what the fuck is this? I know they were hinting again at the attraction, but I was like, but endgame is Chaol, right?
Yeah.
But endgame is Chaol, right? Don't follow it for me, because it is not. I will stop reading this series. No, but there is something between
I'm
them.
dying, guys. I'm dying.
Don't spoil. So that is endgame for me, but I only read the first book. Guys, if you already read the books, please don't write anything in the comments. Why are you laughing?
I'm just trying to breathe here.
I see your face.
Oh my, okay.
You know something.
Can we move along? Let's go, bitches.
Am I gonna be disappointed, Nina?
No, you're not. You're not gonna be disappointed.
Am I gonna be shocked?
No, not really. It just makes sense at the end, you know?
I don't like that answer. It was not, Eva, you are right. It was like, you'll see it my way. I hate that kind of answer. That means there's, this is probably not happening, is it?
I never said that, okay? It just might be an interesting road. You know what I mean? Like, maybe it's not really, you know what I mean?
When people say an interesting road, they mean anything but
Don't overthink it. Just, you know, enjoy the ride.
Let's not think it through, because then I will not read more books. So.
Yeah. But yeah, in regards to Chaol, what you just said, that his character growth was the best one, I agree. Because yeah, he definitely started as, you're a murderer, so you must be a bad person. But then it was so interesting to see, you know, how little by little he understood that Celaena is just literally a girl. She didn't choose this life. She likes reading, she likes dresses, she actually is kind. She's
actually a human.
Exactly.
Relatable.
Yes.
So he was like, oh, this is not as black as white as I thought. This is more on the grayscale. And he himself was, in the end, the one that protected her from Cain's last attack.
Exactly. That was such a good full circle moment. It started so awful because he just really was, she's a murderer. When he realized that she was sending letters to Dorian and they were talking, he was just so, what the fuck? How can you talk with the king's, you know, son? Are you kidding me?
And when he saw them, always a little bit jealous.
And when he saw them walking together and stuff, and he saw them alone, it was just, that's not how it works. And I didn't see it as jealousy, honestly, at the time. Really? No, because he was just so convinced that Celaena is such a murderer. I really thought that it's just because he cares for Dorian so much that he just really is scared for him. There probably was some kind of an attraction to Celaena either way, because she is the most beautiful girl of the land, the way she's described, so beautiful. But
I think it's the fae in her. I think my theory is, and I haven't read the books before, as this one, considering from where she's from and her eye color, when they took such pains to describe that she has like bluish aquamarine eyes with a gold circle in it, so she is probably a descendant of some kind of fae or wields some kind of magic.
Okay.
That would make sense. And then, of course, fae usually in books are described as very beautiful. So I would assume her beauty comes from there.
That's true. But then again, this is a Sarah J. Maas book. In her books, everyone is beautiful. Like, if they're a good person, they're beautiful.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a thing
They're
with her?
all gorgeous.
Really? That's a thing with her?
It's a thing. That's not a spoiler.
Oh.
I mean, even Dorian, again, he's also very handsome. In Chaol, he has that kind of rugged handsomeness about him. So they're all handsome. And Nehemia, she's also a rare beauty. You know?
Oh, right. Okay. I saw the trend, but I thought maybe it's just the first book, you know? Because in real life it's usually... Oh, but this is fantasy, so yeah.
Of course. They all have to be pretty so that we can like fall in love with all of them, you know?
You know, this is my first book I read from Sarah J. Maas.
This is her first book from Sarah J. Maas, guys. Can we give an applause?
Don't kill me for not reading the series.
ACOTAR.
Yeah.
ACOTAR is worst. I mean, I'm sorry guys, hopefully you don't hate me, but I think the Throne of Glass is the superior series. ACOTAR is like really focused on romance. So if you're a romance kind of person, of course, but this in regards to character depth, in regards to plot and romance too, this has it all. Well, that one is really heavy on the romance, you know, maybe too heavy.
But that one was written later, right? This was the first series written.
Yeah, and this one is better.
But they're all in the same multiverse, as I understood.
Yeah,
in a way.
Multiverse, yeah, the same multiverse.
Interesting.
Yeah. Interesting. You know what I liked about Celaena as well? I really like that she's relatable in the sense that she's an assassin. She has had this awful childhood where she was, you know, she learned how to kill essentially. She was tortured by a Robin. But she still kind of likes beautiful dresses and she still likes to look nice and she likes to read. And I just thought that I really like this, that she's not that type of character. Okay, so she's an assassin, so she must be a tomboy, you know, and she must always wear leather clothes, and you know, it was different. I like this combination of her being girly but at the same time dangerous, you know.
I understand. Whereas I liked with Chaol, for example, that he abdicated his position as lord to his younger brother, and then you have his whole backstory in a way, and how he came the captain of the guard, and why this position means so much to him. Yeah. So in a way, you see his thinking then, and the process and the character growth because of it is so much.
But then again, his story in that way didn't really touch me that much, because essentially he is a privileged lord who, of course, will get any position he wants. You know what I mean? Of course, he's gonna become captain of the guard. Like maybe someone else is more worthy of this position, is more skilled, but of course he's gonna be captain of the guard because he is essentially a lord.
But as
so
I don't really, he still worked for it, and he gave up his title of lord. He's not lord anymore.
Yeah, but it's not really a thing to give up if you didn't want it in the first place, you know?
Oh, okay. No,
if it's something that you didn't really want anyway, you didn't want to be a lord, of course it's not that big of a sacrifice. So that's why his story didn't really touch me that much.
Well, I found it was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's not interesting, but it didn't really resonate with me as much as, for example, Celaena's story did. And even Dorian's story, like he's my favorite character, but his story also didn't resonate with me that much because essentially he is like a spoiled prince.
Yeah, but it makes sense that Celaena's story is the most thought out one,
of course,
the most interesting one, because she is the main character.
But then again, I was also impressed by Nehemiah's story, you know, because I guess I'm always more impressed by stories with characters that started off as really just like really in the trenches, you know, they've been through stuff. You know what I mean? I feel like Chaol and Dorian haven't been through shit. You know, Chaol, for example, this is the first person he killed. Cain is the first person he ever killed.
That was fucking weird.
You know, and he's the captain of the guard.
Yeah, that was.
So that's like, what? You know, it's not that relatable. It's not like if he, for example, killed already before and he's going through some kind of demons in that way, that would be more like...
Yeah, he was not on battlefield and neither was Dorian. Okay, yeah. and that is seen as the way they look at their worldview and how they see the assassins and so on. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
That makes total sense. Whereas then if you go to Celaena and her character growth, you can see her also developing in a way, not so as arrogant as she was before. And it's really, I think it was a coping mechanism for her to be so arrogant because she needed something to survive that 1 year in the salt mines.
Of course.
And the weird.
I mean, when you think about the grand scheme of things, even her arrogance is kind of understandable, you know?
Yeah, then it wasn't so bad. Once you get past the first chapter, actually, you kind of start understanding it a bit more. And you're like, okay, it's not that bad. I can see where she's coming from. This is a self-defense mechanism that helps her function.
Exactly. And you kind of feel for her, you know, poor kid, if you think about it.
Yeah, it's a basic sub story in a way.
Yeah. By the way, how much do you know about a Robin? I don't remember from this book. What do you know?
He was her, so to speak, stepfather in a way. And he's the head of the Assassin's Guild that's very known, and she's the most known assassin.
Yeah.
And basically, whatever, he invited teachers from all over the land to help her learn things, and then she had to pay him back every penny, and when she paid him back, he spent all that money in like a day.
Yeah. So, you know that essentially he's probably not a good kind of father figure.
He's an assassin, of course. He's not a good... She was an investment.
I know, but still, I mean, I wasn't sure the first time I read it just because you know, I'm the type of person who really likes gray characters. So I thought maybe he's the type of character that's kind of obviously awful. He's an assassin, but maybe he actually deep down cares for her, you know?
So he doesn't, is what you're saying?
No, I'm not saying that. But when I read this, I wasn't, like you just explained, like you're really convinced that he's bad because he's an assassin.
No, I am just convinced that he is not a great father figure.
Okay.
And that his character makes sense for his role.
Oh, okay. Well, you know, that's what I mean. Because when I read it, you know, the first time I wasn't like sure in that way. If he's, you know, if he does care for her or not. That's what I'm trying to say. But I didn't understand you in that way. You know, I thought what you were saying is that...
What I'm saying is I never really took it into account if he cared for her or not. I saw it from his side as an investment into, he saw potential and then he invested into this potential.
Okay.
So I don't know what his feelings are, and I didn't really care about what his feelings are, because he was an abstract character in this book, because he's mentioned only through her and that's it.
Okay, I get it. Well, listeners, for me, when I read about Robin, I was kind of excited for later books to find out more about him, because like I mentioned to Eva previously, I really wanted to know if he's just like this assassin who took advantage of this poor young girl, or does he actually care for her? Because I really like gray characters, like I mentioned, and I wanted to understand if he's one of those or if he's just an asshole. You know, that's what I kind of... But I don't really remember how much we learned from this, so thanks for telling me. Yeah. Okay, good.
That was it. And then she got scars from his lessons, and that she has a scar on her hand because she was not as good with the left hand as with the right. So he gave her a choice: either he breaks her hand or she does it, and she did it herself by slamming a door on it.
Yeah.
So he was a bit of pain is your teacher kind of
basically guy. Yeah. That kind of reminds me of anyone who's read The Mortal Instruments of Jace and his dad when he killed his falcon. That was sad. But that's like a reference for anyone who read that. But yeah, it's another thing about Celaena that you also understand why she is arrogant and cocky, because from the way she explains it, she was always considered as the best assassin. Robin invested most of his time into her, you know, in her training, her being the best and all of that. So of course that's gonna kind of get into your head if you're raised like that, you're the best, and you know what I mean. So
and she
again,
was also known as the best.
Yeah.
Even though they keep it on the down low how she was caught and who she was, so which is why she had to go around as Lily and not as Celaena. But yeah, that's what I know about that character.
Yeah. Okay.
Moving on, then the antagonist would be Parrington,
yeah.
Duke Parrington,
Celaena, and the King.
And the King. Celaena. I imagined that name differently in my head.
I like her name, actually. Of all of the awful names in this book, Celaena is pretty cool, I think.
She was really ambitious. And it shows, in a way, it's shown as like an ambition is bad, in a way. At least from her side, the way she was going around it.
I mean, she was just no morals whatsoever, you know.
Well, she really wanted to get out of her situation and rise above classes.
Yeah.
And she thought she was fooling the Duke, while in fact the Duke was fooling her.
Yeah. She thought she was using her womanly charms, but it kind of backfired. And you know, as much as I hated Celaena from the beginning because the way she was treating Lillian and the way she behaved, at the end, I kind of felt bad for her too, because it just shows the position of women in this world. You know, she's just a woman who's trying to survive, who's trying to get to like a good place for herself, to help herself and her family to live a life. And the only way to really achieve that is by marrying rich. You know, and that's kind of the fucked up system that they live in, and that, you know.
I thought it was only for her, not for her family, though.
I mean, we didn't get inside her head again, but yeah, like let's say that it's for her, but still, like that's basically what women are taught in this world, that if you want to make something of yourself, you have to marry rich.
Of course. Thank God we do not live in a world like this. But yeah, in a way, she was very ambitious. She really wanted the best. Of course, she couldn't settle for the Duke. The Duke was an A-grade asshole in this storyline.
I imagine him as really short and fat and ugly.
Really? I didn't. I thought him sort of tall, but balding.
I don't know why.
With a big mustache, you know, like the Monopoly Man.
Yeah. But the Monopoly Man is really small, isn't he?
Yeah, but I just imagined the mustache.
Okay,
Not like the Monopoly man. No.
Yeah.
But I thought him still like intimidating character, especially since he could put Celaena to her knees. So
he was kind of
be,
scary, yeah.
So he had to be a bit taller, right?
Yeah.
Not small and fat, putting you to your knees, you would laugh and die.
Yeah, but Celaena was super weak, you know, and she was chained up, so, you know.
Yeah, that still doesn't make sense in my head.
I mean, whatever. Duke Barrington, he was kind of a creepy character, but I really like the way Sarah J. Maas presented the king to us. I feel like he's one of those characters that you can just really feel like is super evil. And I really like that because he was just evil, pure evil, and yeah. Thank you for not making me feel like maybe there's something more to him. I kind of like the fact that he is black and white, you know?
In a way, I didn't see him as evil. I just saw him as just set in his ambitions of conquering.
Really?
Yeah,
I mean, he enslaved so many people. How can he not be evil?
Yeah, but those are numbers to him.
Ugh, yeah, I don't know. He's evil. And the way he behaves to his own son, the way he treats him, kicks him and embarrasses him.
I mean, you could define it as evil. I just saw it as not good. Oh, well, yeah, that is basically evil in a way, I guess. But
I mean, to me, I guess it's like completely, it's subjective.
It's subjective. I'd never want to label something. I would label the spirits, the dead people, evil.
What do you mean, the spirits of that?
The ones that she saw when she was fighting Cain.
Oh.
That I would label as evil, as malevolent energy, while as the king is still human, so I would just paint him as a very bad character.
Okay, maybe evil is a really strong word. Like a really bad person, essentially.
Yeah, a really bad person, but that's basically just focused on his very selfish, very ambitious and selfish, doesn't care about his family that much, or maybe just a little bit because it's about his legacy, but ultimately puts his health first. It's very kingly behavior to me, in a way.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. That's true. Okay, good. Is there anything else that we missed and that you would like to discuss? Nox, okay, what about him?
So this book had a lot of side characters, like side characters that were not that mentioned. For example, as Sam, that you know a bit more of, that I don't.
By the way, if you would like to know anything more about Sam, even if it's spoiler, let me know.
No.
Okay.
Please, no. I just know they kissed, they were a couple, and she was very sad that he died, and she doesn't actually remember how she got into the mines.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a blur to her, so she's not really sure. So he was also like an interesting character that you got a taste of, but as you said, is mentioned more in prequel.
In the prequel, yeah.
Prequel. Is he mentioned later in the series?
Sam, I think he's like, you know, he's a consistent in the series, I think, because he just meant so much to Celaena.
Okay.
You know?
That's all I need to know.
Yeah.
So he's mentioned more then. Okay. And then I thought that Nox was an interesting character that maybe will reappear in the later series because she helped him. So I thought it was like a favor owed. And I thought he was really something of a moral gray character, right? So that I thought was a solid gray character that I could get to know more about, even though he was described a bit in here, but not that much to make it known or to know him very well, but enough to make him seem interesting and enough to make you think, oh, this character is gonna be a constant through the series maybe on.
Yeah.
Maybe later on. And I'm right, aren't I?
I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, she's not getting shit from me. But I'm just gonna say that when I read this book and when he escaped, I was like, okay, so he survived. Yes, we'll probably see more of him. That's what I thought. And I kind of did hope that maybe their bond is going to get even stronger and that they, not on a romantic level, but just like really friends. Like really good friends.
Yes.
That I would love that.
And I also saw her getting help from one of the contestants, which was a would-be. No, he identified himself as an assassin. I think his name was something starting with a P. The one that was very good at poisons.
Oh, yeah, he didn't really help her, but she kind of did snoop when they were like having a test, and she kind of saw what he was doing because Elena told her look right or something.
And he nodded to her like he's done.
Yeah, he wasn't bad. That's
because
good.
Cain also picked on him a lot.
And by the way, just another thing that I was really annoyed at Celaena at. Oh my gosh. And this is every fantasy book ever, honestly. When she got that wine and they needed to toast, I was like, don't drink wine from the enemies. And I was just like, you literally had a test in which you had had to smell different poisons and you still couldn't smell that or whatever. Like, I mean, maybe it's just such a subtle smell, but I'm like, before you drink anything, maybe just like, sniff a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know. I was like, you're an assassin. How fucking dumb are you?
Yeah, that was really dumb. Yeah, and this is every fantasy book ever. In every book they get something to drink and they always drink it without questions. I'm like, this is getting old. Can someone just impress me for once and just be like, no, I'm actually gonna smell this and I'm gonna be smart about it. But it never happens.
Really old as well? A bad guy being named Cain.
Okay, yeah, Cain, from the Bible.
You have from Adam and Eve, you have Cain and Abel.
That's
true. The
true.
first two murderers.
That's true.
I'm like, a bad guy named Cain. Oh,
really?
Gee, what could happen? Oh, this character is named Cain. I wonder if he will... Of course he will not be good. Maybe I'll be... No, I won't be surprised.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, he was the one summoning the spirit. Not really surprised at all.
Yeah, I agree. True. Like, some things are just so predictable. And this isn't like Sarah J. Maas's fault. It's the general problem in this fantasy land, I think.
Yeah, but his character was not really that death, actually.
Yeah.
Just solid bad guy.
Yeah.
Somebody doing shit.
Doesn't matter.
And he was actually doing that on the orders of Duke. And then you see that basically it was in the interest of the king to see her die.
Yeah.
Which, shocker, the king doesn't like her. Wonder why.
Anything else?
No, I think we went through all of the characters. Maybe go through the ending scene with the battle and the whole summoning. So... I think it was a belladonna that caused her hallucinations.
Poison, yeah.
Yeah, and then she saw the spirits, and there is actually, this is where you get the mention more of word marks, and then we find out that Nehemia is actually proficient in spell casting with word marks.
Yeah, which is what, right?
And accessing the other realm. So I thought that whole battle was interesting, but yeah, with the poison, I was like, predictable. Of course, Cain defeated his first opponent in 3 minutes. She did it in 2 with a bow. No, it was not a bow. Sorry, it was a pole, actually.
I don't remember the details.
It was a pole that was given to her from Nehemia to represent their people because Chaol offered her his sword.
Oh, so cute.
Mine's out of the gutter, people. Actual sword. Anyway.
Damn, she has a dirty mind. Who would have thought? You look so innocent, but not really.
What are you talking about? I am an angel. Especially in the podcast with you, where you
Should I edit this video with like a halo above your head?
Anyway, so I thought that was interesting. The way that then the battle between Cain and actually Elena.
It's just Elena. That's like such a normal name.
Elena.
Remember Elena from the Vampire Diaries?
I know that's why I remembered the name of the queen. I was like, oh, I'm Elena again. I see. Where are you, Vampire Diaries? Which I also watched on your suggestion. I feel like I did most of the fantasy things on your suggestion.
Well, I mean, I'm super happy that you like respect my opinion. But she like takes her time, I've been convincing her for years to read this, so it's not even funny. But
I read it. You were not even. You were surprised that I actually read the book.
I mean, I was surprised. But like you wanted to collaborate with me on this podcast, so that probably encouraged you a bit more.
No, actually, I got your recommendations and some friend recommendations about this book. That's a very good series. It's just I really get attached to characters,
and
especially the ones I really like. And then if something bad happens to them or if they die, I can't.
Okay, I'm gonna say this. I feel like she's gonna really like a certain character and anyone... I'm not gonna spoil anything, don't worry. But I feel like she's really gonna like a character. And it might be
Nina?
sad,
Why sad, Nina?
That's all I'm gonna say, and I'm never gonna tell you which character I meant. I'm never gonna tell you what happened. I'm never gonna tell you anything, so just forget about it. But this is for the audience. I want them to know.
How am I gonna forget about it while you mention? Am I going to be set up for heartbreak? I am, aren't I? I hate books like this. They make you feel and then they kill them off.
I never said they die. It doesn't have to be that they die. Maybe just something, really bad happens to them. Like just, there are different types. Sometimes surviving is worse, But let's not go there. Okay, So before we finish this episode, we're gonna do some quick fire questions. So she's gonna just basically ask me some questions, and I'm just gonna respond with one word to her. Okay? 5. Let's say 5, right?
Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna give you a name, hopefully pronounced correctly, and you're gonna respond with one word as to the first thing you think of that name.
Okay, but I'm not promising interesting answers because it's just gonna be something that snaps to my mind. So yeah. I'll try.
Okay, I'll start. Magical artifact.
Sword.
Okay, I think you know where going with this one. The sword was already introduced in this book.
Didn't spoil anything.
Elf.
Dark.
Huh. Interesting. Captain.
Sexy. That's the best I have.
I think I know where that went. You were thinking of Chaol, weren't you?
I was thinking of Theo James as Chaol.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I'm sorry. Anyone remember Theo James in Divergent with Riz? Oh, I mean, that's Chaol. Hello.
I remember him from The Gentleman.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's Chaol.
Okay, continuing on. Evil.
The King.
Okay. And then... The future?
Sad.
I don't like this. This is not going to be good for me.
I mean, those are the first words that came to mind.
This is not going to be good for me. Why is the future sad?
It's not just sad, though, obviously.
But that was your first go-to word.
Because, a thought came to mind. I mean, a scene came to mind immediately. And that's the scene that always comes to mind when when I talk about these books. And I guess sad scenes stick with me more than happy ones.
I'm going to be yelling you for voicemail.
Yep.
Just, why the fuck did I read this?
But no, you're going to have to wait because you're not going to be sending me voicemails. You're going to have to keep it in so that we can let it out here for our audience. Because, by the way, guys, we're going to be discussing this entire series and Eva is going to be joining me every time. So,
if she doesn't lose her patience with me through the few episodes,
which is possible, honestly, but, let's stay positive.
Okay, positive. Even though it's sad, the future of this book series.
I mean, it's a long book series. Do you not expect any sad moments? Like, where do you live?
I do, but I think, I should have gone with ending.
Oh, well, you didn't, so. Okay, so let's end the episode here. But before I do, what is your biggest question for the next series? I'm not going to be answering, but what are you wondering about the most at this point for the next book?
For the next book?
Yeah.
Is she going to spend 4 years being his assassin? I know she's not going to I know she's not going to complete his tasks because of her moral questions and her character. I know she's gonna try to do something else. Definitely, probably trying to, I don't know, make it seem like she's doing it without actually doing it, because even when she was an assassin, she didn't take jobs that she didn't like. So this, I think, is not going to change because it's part of her moral character in a way.
Okay.
But the king did threaten that he will kill Chaol or Nehemia and her family if she doesn't comply with his orders. So, is the king going to be alive for all of the 4 years of her servitude, or is she maybe going to start plotting and trying to kill him before? And if that does happen, what is her relationship with Dorian going to be like? They stopped their romantic relationship, but by the way, big shocker.
You expected that?
Yes.
I didn't.
Really?
The first time I read it when I was 16, I was really convinced that, I was just used to books where the main character, the first guy she meets and she really likes, that's endgame. I was really used to that pattern. So I thought Dorian was going to be this for her, even though I did sense some, I thought maybe a love triangle with them.
I thought that love triangle as well, but I thought, okay, it was going to be really cliche if they put her
Of course, but at the same time, she was so young when, she wrote this, so I was like, it's possible that she's going to go down the cliche path. I just thought, the Dorian was going to stick longer. I didn't know if they were going to end up endgame, but still.
I think the relationship is gonna be even more complex in the next couple books. Considering how she wrote this, I think this has a very good possibility.
I did feel for Dorian because he did kind of come to the point of kind of falling in love with Celaena, you know, like not maybe too deep,
but I think it was because she was an interesting new thing and everything had poured bored
and
him.
she also kind of saw that. She also saw Dorian as like seeing her in that kind of way.
Yeah.
So, but I just hope that I mean we're completely gone sideways, but I just hope that their relationship, like their friendship, isn't too affected by this. You know,
it seems okay. At the end of this book, it seemed okay.
Okay, let's hope it stays that way because that like the first time I read this, that was my fear that it's gonna be awkward between them now or just weird and there's gonna be a weird distance.
How it ends.
It doesn't matter. I'm saying how I felt when I read this the first time. Okay. Shit, she says she doesn't want me to spoil shit and she's kind of asking for it.
Don't. I'm testing your willpower.
Okay, so now I think we have really come to an end. All I can say about future books that it's gonna get even more interesting and even more intense. So that's all I'm saying. Expect the unexpectable.
Oh, what advice, Nina.
I know.
Thank you so much.
So
Who
good.
would have thought that?
Yeah, I know. I'm an angel. Anyways, guys, hope you enjoyed this episode. Like I said, we're coming back with all of the other books, so stay tuned for that. Until then, check out some of my other episodes. I've discussed ACOTAR with my previous co-host and so many other books. In my last episode, I discussed books that I actually really didn't like, but I still finished because they still hooked me. So that's an interesting one, and it's just 11 minutes long. So yeah, like this episode, subscribe to my channel, follow me on Instagram and on TikTok so you can get updates about future episodes, and I post some fun content there. So that's it for today, right?
Yeah. And thank you for having me on your podcast and for all the recommendations. And guys, if you haven't read the book, I did it. I mean, it took time, but once you're in it, it really is, as they say, it really is interesting. You really do fall into it.
Anyways, thanks for listening again, and bye.
Bye. Bye.